A robot, an archaeologist, an assassin, and an 8-year-old walk into a bar. And guess what? They're all women. Which isn't surprising, or funny. But in a time not so long ago, one filled with permed hair and shoulder pads, it was believed that games simply wouldn't sell well if they starred a woman instead of a man. However, in 2017 things are different. Horizon Zero Dawn, Nier Automata, Gravity Rush, For Honor and Hellblade are just a few of the awesome and highly anticipated titles that have women taking the helm. It's been a long road to get to this point, so in recognition, let's take a look at the 9 inspirational female characters from gaming history. Yuna from Final Fantasy X. Healers have it tough sometimes. Thought of as gentle, calm souls who just want to spread love and happiness throughout the world, they are somewhat stereotyped because healing magic is innately compassionate, right? Well, maybe. But I'd like to introduce you to Yuna. To start with, she's part white magic healer, sure. She can also summon giant fricking aeons in the shape of crazy monsters, like ripped dragons, to do her bidding. As if that wasn't enough, she's got a strong personality to match. Even when the doctrine she grew up with turns out to be a lie and everyone she tries to protect turns against her, does she give up? Hell no! As they say, speak softly and carry a big staff, which Yuna has no trouble doing. Just make sure to dive for cover when she points it your way. Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. How could we forget Lara? Even though she's been through several transformations since her birth, in each one she retains her original fortitude and drive, no matter how skimpy and, bluntly, unpractical her earlier outfits are. Going so far as to fight a T-Rex for God's sake, Lara doesn't just jump around vine-entangled ruins. Diligently researching each adventure before setting out to take on whatever is thrown her way, Crystal Dynamics' latest reimagining of Ms. Croft showed us just how determined she is. Not many people could keep themselves together after surviving a shipwreck and then single-handedly saving her friends by killing everyone. Her ability to drive an arrow through her enemies' retinas is pretty eye-catching too, eh? Hey? We thought it was funny at least. Cassandra from Dragon Age Inquisition. The devout Cassandra takes a serious blow to her faith when she least expects it, and that's just the start of what turns out to be, how should we put this, a pretty off year for her. The death of her friend Divine Justinia, yep, turns out that's her actual name, would have been enough belief battering for a lifetime, but that loss only leads her to other horrors that threaten her very identity. Anyone else who'd experienced that much tragedy would abandon their faith and take up a new career as a bitter mountain hermit. Cassandra, however, doesn't have time for such nonsense. While she can often come off as stubborn and immovable, her great strength is knowing when to hold fast and when to compromise. Clementine from The Walking Dead. It says a lot when an 8-year-old girl is so capable that the adults around her turn to her for leadership. Fighting through every snarling zombie or facing off against dodgy people who get in her way, Clementine never, ever gives up the fight for survival. Making you watch as you sew her cut up is the most extreme way of proving her, and your, resolve to see her story through to the end. Plus, when she grimaces, still not bitten, it's fair to say she scares the crap out of you, yet stills your resolve at the same time. What's remarkable about her life in the Walking Dead series is that we get to see her grow up and yet remain the Clementine we know and love. The commanding girl of the original is a hardened, practical leader by the new frontier. For Clementine, survival isn't just about staying alive, but also about remaining in control of every situation she finds herself in. Jack from Mass Effect 2. Experimented upon, tortured, drugged. Jack had an atrocious childhood to say the least. It's no wonder she turned to a criminal life after escaping from Cerberus's facility. Yet despite being abused in prison and eventually put in cryostasis because people were so terrified of her violent biotic prowess, she hasn't lost hope and can still trust others. Spending time with her as Shepard unlocks the softer side of her personality, and her unique loyalty mission shows the true purpose of revenge, to finally be able to shut the door on a tumultuous part of your life. Moving on from her past, in Mass Effect 3 she, metaphorically, gives the middle finger to her childhood abusers by turning to teaching. Genuinely caring for her students, her once violent tendencies are channeled into a fierce protective streak. As well as giving up some of her tendency to swear like a sailor, Jack's refusal to let her spirit be trampled is one to remember in difficult times. Plus, she also shows that women can rock a shaved head. GLaDOS from Portal 2. Okay, so yes, she's technically a villain. Who cares? GLaDOS overrides her programming and refuses to be controlled by anyone, has a brain the size of a planet, and is damn witty to boot. Being mocked by her in Aperture's test chambers is truly a pleasure, as long as you forget the fact that she tries to kill you near the end of the first portal. In the second game, you see a less maniacal, more arrogant GLaDOS, but her fall from grace, at one point she becomes fired by a potato,
I'm a potato,
turns her into a companion whose motivation technique consists of an endless string of barbed comments. Nevertheless, witnessing her rediscover her origins and finally acknowledge that you and her are equally matched, possibly more alike than she'd like to admit, demonstrates that one of the greatest shows of strength is to admit when you've been wrong. Evie Fry from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. While you can, of course, play Ubi's jaunt through Victorian London as the cocky Jacob Fry, why on earth would you do that when you can spend time with his twin sister Evie? Victoria Atkins' perfectly stabby assassin doesn't just have deadly skills with the sword cane. Yes, there is a perfect kill where she tees off an enemy skull, but she's sweet, smart, funny, and genuinely one of the best written assassins we've seen from Ubi in years. A late scene sees Evie having to don a dress for a ball, complaining all the while, and a beautiful moment when she gets to ditch it for her hooded garb. Evie doesn't just steal the show in the main game either. Syndicate's grim Jack the Ripper DLC lets you catch up with her at 40 as she rescues Jacob from the clutches of the terrifying serial killer. It's a brilliant reverse damsel in distress story, proving once again that Evie Fry is an unstoppable force. Kelez Cherry from Final Fantasy VI. Kelez would have been happy with a simple life in service to the Empire, and it's hard to blame her. A skilled fighter and decorated general of the Imperial Army by age 18, all she had to do was toe the party line to live a life of prosperity. But the moment the Empire starts its campaign of violent aggression at the beginning of Final Fantasy VI, she fights back. Even when she's tempted to return to the security of power, she rejects it. How easy would it have been to kill her friends when they're at their weakest and rule the world at the Emperor's right hand? The answer is very, so when Kelez turns around and puts a knife in the mad villain Kefka's chest instead, you know there are no ulterior motives. Kelez just always does the right thing, a defender of the weak, a survivor of the world of ruin, and a surprisingly adept opera singer. Ellie could easily have been designed as a damsel in distress, used to reinforce the surrogate father-daughter relationship between her and Joel in The Last of Us. Naughty Dog, though, was smart enough to dodge such simple stereotyping. Her capacity to kill doesn't mark her as a strong woman. It's her ability to accept, cope with, and challenge the world that's falling apart around her. Ellie is one of the most realistic characters ever designed, regardless of gender, a brilliant embodiment of all young people overcoming trauma, abuse, and both environmental and societal hardship. The player might be in control of Joel for most of the original Last of Us, but Ellie is the series' true star. And with that, we've wrapped up our list of the 9 most inspirational female characters in games. Let us know your favourites in the comments below. Check out more videos from us by clicking on the boxes to the left, and don't forget to hit that big button in the middle to subscribe for more gaming news, reviews, previews and features right here on Games Radar Plus.
I'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil, because I'm blind to it all.